Yeah, guy. Whatever you're doing, just stop it. Whatever you hold and drop it. I want you guys to listen to this guy. This guy used to be the former secretary to Chief Obafemi Awolowo back in them days. He wants to teach us history. He wants to tell us what we don't know. Listen to him.
Lugard began by saying, I will form a coalition with an ethnic group which will help run the North, and then the North will run Nigeria. He got that pattern from Uganda because the traditional rulership in Uganda required the British to simply govern the people using an old formality. When he got to Nigeria, he decided he was going to form this alliance with, it became, for him, a matter of an Anglo-Fulani alliance. And in a 1902 memo to the colonial office, he was very specific. If we cannot make this generation perform as we wish them to, we will train their children or we will train their children's children. Before the British came, so many ethnic groups across Nigeria were self-governing in a way that had broad constitutional patterns that are not too different from the one that the British were bringing. Within their fold, they had clear ways of taking decisions. The federal system, which many of us talk about today, were actually in existence in very many of the ethnic groups across Nigeria. The British did not exactly want a return to any of those traditional modes. So that sometimes when we talk about how far Nigeria has progressed, I think it would also be fair to talk about how far we could not progress because of the manner in which we came together. And 1960 was a particularly interesting year because the elections that brought Nigerians into power had laid a table, so to say. There were 3 regions in the country, and there were 3 big political parties. There were other political parties, but we had a very peculiar situation where every region was dominated by a hegemonic ethnic group, and there were so many other smaller ethnic groups fighting for regions of their own. It was the same in every region. It meant that we set out in a very competitive mood. The basis for cooperation was there, but it was not properly applied. No political party could win a majority. So every decision taken in Nigeria, every arrangement made had to be based on a coalition. And the coalition we set out with was very interesting. The North was the hegemonic group. It had a virtual veto over the 2 southern states. A veto in the sense that in terms of size, it was virtually 3 times bigger than the 2 southern regions. And therefore, it meant whoever was going to run Nigeria was going to be linking the North and one of the 2 southern regions. The NCNC and the Action Group, the 2 southern states, could not work together. The NCNC and the NPC, the Northern People's Congress, had reached an agreement by 1958 as to how they would come together. But they could not, properly speaking, form a government until they had discussed how to share Nigeria. And the decision they reached, I keep saying this, the decision they reached was to give virtually all the big jobs that will be vacated by colonialists to one of the political parties, because in their constituency, that is to say in the Eastern constituency, they had a lot of educated people who could fill the jobs. The North made the concession, but that was also why Zik, whose party really ought to have produced the prime minister because of the number of seats and votes they got, had conceded that the North would produce the prime minister and the leader the NCNC will produce a ceremonial president. That changed the chemistry of the Nigerian nation.